Hey guys, welcome to the Stories of Young podcast. Today, two guys that I find really inspiring, Safi Graauw and Gunifort. Welcome guys.
Thank you, welcome.
How are you feeling today?
Good.
Yeah?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, black and amazing.
Are you excited to be here? Black and amazing, I love that. What's that feeling? Tell me, black and amazing.
Yo, it's a feeling I've had since birth, and every year it gets stronger, man.
Nice.
Super blessed.
Nice,
Yeah.
I love that. Well, before we get started, I have these cards.
Playing games already?
Yes, I have these cards, Stories of Young cards. And these are my icebreakers, but also we designed these cards just to start conversations. So I have one for you, Safi, and one for you, Gunifort, that I selected. And these are questions that I picked up because I want you guys to answer these questions. Yeah, cool. So this one is yours and this one is yours. Who's going to start?
Safi.
Oh, do you have a mentor? Who are they and how have they had an impact? Well, I wouldn't say that they're my mentors. I would say that I look up to them a lot. And I would say that they are Wessel van Ede and Dennis from Just Dig It. And they are the first people that had me make a documentary in Kenya. And they are the first people that actually believed in the fact that I could do that.
Yeah.
And from there, maybe a bit of information about them would be right. They're the people that founded Dance for Life. And Dance for Life got rid of HIV in sub-Saharan Africa through dance. And it was a completely radical idea at that time.
Wow.
And radical is these guys' middle name. So the World Economic Forum announced Dennis to be one of the young global leaders, which is a pretty big prize to get for your work. And they've been doing that since, I believe, 2000. They did that with Dance for Life. And now they started another organization called Just Dig It. And that organization aims to restore the landscapes of sub-Saharan Africa.
That's a big project because I've seen it all around the city, the metro stations. And every time when I see it, I'm like, Safi made that. That is so cool. But do you still work with them?
Man,
on projects?
It's become more than that. It's become a friendship. It's become, whenever they do something new and they want to communicate that, they call me.
Dope.
And basically, they call me a month ahead. So we're like, yo, next month we're going to Tanzania, we're going to be living, or we're going to our Kenya, we're going to be living with the Maasai for 3 weeks. Are you up for this? And I'm like, well,
let's go. Dope.
Let's go.
Nice.
So yeah, I wouldn't say they're my mentors, but they are people that I really look up to. And they gave me a lot of opportunity and have steered me to become the person that I am.
Nice. Yeah. Inspiring. Gunifort.
So my question is, how has technology influenced how children develop and play today? I love that you think that I'm I'm the one to answer this question because it's it's
no, the reason why I gave you this card is because you are a dad.
Yes, I am.
And I think yesterday you showed me a picture of your son sleeping on your chest. I was like, that is so cute. So I really, this question is more from a dad perspective. Yeah. How do you think that it influences and how can you actually protect maybe your child or children in the future?
So I can answer it to you from a personal perspective and also like my general thoughts about this. So from a personal perspective, as you say, I'm a dad now for 2 years. I have a little boy. But we don't have a TV at home. We have quite a strict technology regimen. So even at grandma and grandpa, everyone, I'm super aware of the amount of screen time that he gets.
Okay.
And my reasoning is that all around me, you know, if you walk through Amsterdam, you see kids basically walking with their iPads stuck to their hands. And you know, I've always not wanted that for at least my own son, and I feel that technology, even if he starts, you know, really going in it at a later age, I have a feeling he'll be able to catch up quite quickly. Yeah. But vice versa, I think it's very complicated if your brain is already, you know, set up for technology to process analog information. So the more general answer of how technology has influenced children to develop and play today, I'm going to make a little link with Africa. So technology is one of the most important things I feel you should bring your children up with. And I find it so important. I know it's a little bit contrarian to not having even a TV at home, but so important. Like it's like teaching your kid how to read and just giving the tools for the future. So I do truly think technology is one of the biggest factors in the development of children, and especially looking at our continent where we come from, I see that as one of our biggest opportunity. Of we have a huge youth demographic. Imagine if you empower every one of those with an iPhone and a MacBook and 5G. It's done.
You know what I think about this question? Is that because this is a very big coincidence, but I talked about this yesterday. People have a virtual identity, and people have an absolute identity.
Yes.
Now your absolute identity is determined by your family and people around you, and your upbringing and your culture. And then your virtual identity is basically based on what you like. And the problem is that young people do this. They can't separate their actual identity from the virtual identity. And I think that's dangerous. Because now you see a lot of good things happening. For example, a kid that lives in a trailer park can dress up in Supreme and think that that's his identity. But now you also have this insane loss of culture. And I think that's
But that's so interesting because both of you are part of this visual art scene, right? So we all contribute to either the problem or the solution, right? First of all, you guys both being in a visual art scene, do you understand why I wanted the both of you together?
100%. Actually, before we started taping, I think we were already
going
off. And
what were you guys talking about? I really want to know, like, because the interesting part is you guys have never met each other before. But only online.
We've seen each other.
Known of each other's work.
Each other's ideas. And for me,
good to hear, by the way.
I look at Gunifort online, and all I can say is yes, go. I know what you're doing. And then at the same time, you get questions that you want to ask the person, but then in real life, you just don't get the opportunity. Or it just doesn't happen in some way, and today it just happened, and I'm really happy with it.
It for me, like, I am so excited because I reached out to both of you and I was like, you know what? I think that's a perfect match. That could be such an interesting conversation. And you both were like, oh, Guni, my man. And Guni was, oh, Safi, my guy. I'm like, okay, perfect. Like, this is going to be amazing. So.
But that is a very interesting topic, I think, to follow up on. You know, how technology also is helping us in this Black Renaissance that we're in. So I myself, I had many moments I was like, no, I'm going to delete Instagram. I'm going to, go fully analog. I'm going to be the book guy.
Because I've heard that you are very hard to get a grip of.
Yeah, man. No, definitely.
You don't love the online.
No, I hate my phone basically. And if you go to WhatsApp, it's a shit show. To keep it completely honest with you. But I did figure out that it's such a beautiful extension of my social life. So both you guys, for instance, I've been following for a little while now. I've been championing, you get inspired by the people that you follow. So for me, those are all pros when it comes to this technology thing. Even to such an extent that if I look around me, we have a production crew, some are from Ghana, and we actually met through Instagram. And when I went to Ghana, we linked up that way. So man, this tech thing, I think, is something we should embrace. And I don't know, man. Sorry if I'm taking a little bit over, but
no. Go ahead.
It's only because I also want your guys' thoughts on it. We've been talking this year post BLM a lot about how we should also create our own institutions. And I've been trying to fine tune that to add technology. Like it almost seems like even if we have our institutions, but you still have to go through the platforms that we have at the moment. You still don't have control of your own stuff.
True.
that's why at least today, I feel very, very blessed to be on your platform.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, and I really appreciate that. And I really, really appreciate the work that you guys put out. First of all, Gunifort, you are the first or one of the only Black publisher in West Europe. Is that correct?
Yes. Self-claimed. First and foremost.
Self-claimed.
So
okay.
I don't have any. Yeah, but this is the thing. It's actually a thing I want to speak out of existence. You understand? So and this year, we had the killing of George Floyd, and it made its way also here to the Netherlands, and we started protesting also locally, and a lot of activism off and online, and I received so many pieces of communication that actually made me realize at that moment that I was the only one. Because
everybody was like, go and read this book, go and read that book. So how did that, is that one of the reasons why people came to you? Like
100%. The 50% of all inquiries, to put it that way, were, do you have some book recommendations for me to read? But also something that we were talking about before, just because I do maybe have this a fairly unique work or position, and academic background, same as Safi. A lot of people actually approach us with questions that we don't have the answers to.
I don't get it. Make it make sense, please.
Yeah.
So it was a whole lot of that this year of and that's why I believe in March we took a couple of weeks as Mendo just to also figure out ourselves, where we stand, what's happening in the world. I already told you that I'm not super interested in social media, so we didn't feel the pressure of uploading black squares.
That is
or
really
whatever.
good. Yeah.
And our result was just a letter to at least all of our clients, updating them, and telling them where we stand in our journey. So we explained what our ownership structure is. I highlighted that I am the only Black publisher here in the Netherlands. I explained what kind of responsibility I feel that gives me.
And what responsibility do you feel?
The most obvious one, is getting more marginalized people and people that don't really get the opportunities in traditional publishing companies, getting them published. And basically, I don't even know what question you asked me, but
no, the responsibility you feel, and with Mendo, like you said, you guys did not focus on online but more offline, basically to speak up, talk to your community. How do you feel like, even though yes, we have to go through institutions and we don't fully own our own things, how is that for you as a film maker?
I mostly start from science, social science in this case.
What drew you to science, by the way?
Come again?
What drew you to science?
Oh wow, I was a kid. I was 8 years old. So I was born in Suriname, and I moved to the Netherlands when I was 5 or 6. And I went from houses that weren't higher than 2 stories to big flats, 9 stories high. It was cold and all these different types of people, and me actually having to adapt to my environment. And what happened was that on Saturday, a 90s kid, in the 90s, I was like 7, 8. Kids used to watch Daily Kids, and I wasn't that kid. I would watch Discovery Channel, I would watch National Geographic, and I would watch the History Channel.
Yeah.
The problem was that every time I would watch, for example, some show about lions, they would show these majestic animals, and they would show these majestic animals in a way that they were just huge to me. But then all the shows ended with, yes, lions are amazing, but human beings. And if you're 8 and you're like, oh wow, lions, and then they say lions are amazing but human beings, and then they make a show about elephants or hippos or whatever, you keep getting amazed, but then you keep being introduced by this human problem. And I was 8, and I knew that I wanted to do something about that human problem. So when I was 12, my CITO-toets said, hey, you have to go to VWO. But unfortunately, I have ADD. And well, I had ADD. I was just a busy black kid in a white class, and they sent me to.
You had BBB.
Exactly.
I hate
And they sent me to the lower school in the Netherlands. They would call it the MAVO. And from there, I worked my way up, just because I had this idea to solve this human-induced problem. And when I was on the university, I had a problem with my professors because science never actually communicates.
It just does it by itself, you mean?
No,
Or
basically, science has a code language. It's not like your average book. And if information isn't readily available to a lot of people, then that information can't be used. And I think, for once, I believe that our biggest resource is our brain.
yeah.
The information that we can conceive, and then we can do something with that information. And what happened was that I started telling my professors that, hey, maybe it's an idea to just start communicating about the science that you do. And at the same time, a very good friend of mine was going to the Willem de Koning Academy, which is a film school in Rotterdam, and he taught me how to film. And basically, that's where I formed, because this is the answer to your question, that's where I formed my idea of what I would do with film.
Wow.
It's so important to build an image, build a database for people of color to look at and say, hey, I can be that. And that's why all my commercials and everything I make is riddled with what I know, and that's people of color.
Amen.
And that's what we made about fatherhood. It was about any type of person being able to see something within their reference and be like, hey, this is me. I can be a great father, or I can be a great this, or I can be a great that, and that's what we made together. And basically, that idea I just put into everything I make. Because I know I'm not making it for me, I'm making it for us as a people to look at work and be like, hey, I could be in a commercial, or I could be a director, or I could be a writer, or whatever.
And this story just informed me, I think, what our similarities are, or similarities from Ashlee's POV. So check this out. We both were born in the Netherlands, first and foremost. We both, I think, our elementary schools thought we weren't able to do higher education. So I got a little FMBO advice, but luckily I had a strong African mom who was like, what's the highest level they have in high school?
Because you know, with black parents,
that's what you're doing.
African parents, they want doctors, so you can.
As I always say, like a lot of our migrant parents, they were still in what we call like DLE mode, doctor, lawyer, engineer. You know, that's for me.
Oh, I like that DLE mode. Okay.
Still, through, I think maybe from you it came intrinsically. For me, it was truly a push from my mom. We studied. We finished our university studies. I can only assume you were also the only black guy on the stage when you got on your graduation stage.
Everywhere, man. When
you
went to Iceland, I was like, yo, what's up?
But in Iceland's defense, there's little people in Iceland anyway. So did you work in the field that you studied for? Or did you make the jump to the creative scene immediately?
I made the jump to the creative scene immediately.
Okay. So for me, I flirted with banking for like 2 years and then made the decision for Mendo. But I think there's where the similarities even become stronger, because you have your medium of film and I have my medium of a book. And both mediums we aren't experts in. We didn't do the appropriate studies, and as Dutch people said, autodidact. And we have the same conviction that stories need to be told. So before we started this podcast, remember we were talking about the difference between science and the creative world, and we came to the conclusion that everything is a story, right? So even a piece of research or academic paper, it's a story in hypothesis, and the only difference with what we do now is that you need you start with a story, then you have to do find proof for your story. And if you find enough proof, that's and we could go into the statistics. It's the truth.
If you find enough stories in science, if you find enough stories that have the same result, that's when you get something called consensus. And consensus means a lot of people agree.
Yeah.
But what? So if it's not enough for it to become a consensus, if I say it right,
it remains a theory.
It remains a theory.
Okay, and you, but okay.
So let me translate how we deal with that. So we were both in academia, and we had the mediums to maybe either work for a company or go into research, and then we could claim something or come up with a story. So let me give you an example for me from the bank. I was working in private banking, and I was trying to explain, like, we have a huge demographic of foreign people in the Netherlands that have money. Yeah. Just let me focus on them. Let me onboard the football players and the entrepreneurs, and they truly didn't believe in that. I could bring empirical proof. I could show in their data, like, okay, look at these people that they're here on the spreadsheet. Like, we have more than 100 people that could pursue. Yeah. It's only after I left, and then you start to show that you have black publishers and black filmmakers and young black Winfreys. And but seriously, that now I believe other people start to believe it.
Yeah, we saw it, and they now believe
that's
it.
consensus.
And that's consensus.
So that's the information that you actually need, right?
Yes.
Or at least that's very valuable. That's also valuable. People don't see that as value, but that's also valuable.
That is the most valuable. Human consensus on a story is the most valuable thing. As I said.
Oh my God, I'm getting so much inspiration now. Okay,
where's he from? He's from Israel.
Which one?
Yuval Noah Harari, the guy that
Yeah, from Sapiens. He's from Israel. Let me not get this podcast cancelled by using that.
But he wrote a book named Sapiens, Sapiens, and it's basically a history of mankind. Where did we come from, and why do we think the way we think? And there's a chapter in that book where he shows that stories actually are the fundament of human cooperation. And then human cooperation is where we build cities, or where we have science, and human cooperation is trust, and trust is consensus. I go out of my home trusting no one will kill me. Because there's a national consensus that we won't kill each other. So a consensus is a belief. And for example, in science, we have consensus about the fact that climate change is real. And now we're starting to get consensus that racism is real.
Precies. But okay, Abe.
So consensus is basically enough examples that you tip the threshold that now the majority of people believe in something, right? And both, I think, our missions and this stuff we wake up for every day is to add as much almost empirical proof of our stories into this world, and my way of doing that is books, yours is film, and yours is conversation and doing all this. I love that you brought up Sapiens. I would like to build on that because Sapiens, I loved the book, but it was really from a Western perspective, and a thing that I missed, but I've been missing, is our stories, right? On African history, ancestry, what we believe. So I found this.
Okay, go on, and then I have a question for you. No, go on.
No, so I found this book called Flash of the Spirit, or it was actually gifted to me by a writer called Thompson. As basically, he also argues that because we don't have these stories, they got lost. Wait, let me even go one step back. He explains to us first that the religions that we had in Africa, way before colonialism, before the last couple centuries happened, was inward religions, a lot of inward spirituality, meaning that we believe that you are the master of your own universe, you control. But as we had the Ubuntu is the social structure that you found a lot in Africa, as you might know as our social professor. And that meant that, yes, you are a god in yourself, but we need community. Ubuntu is togetherness.
What language is this, Ubuntu?
Oh, it's Swahili.
Swahili,
The cameraman
Ubuntu.
just.
It's basically the same thing as it takes a village to raise.
To raise, yeah. Okay,
It's
yeah.
part of it.
Okay.
So
okay.
to round that up, he argues that our history was oral, and the last couple 100 years happened, and there's a detachment from our own history and our own examples, and whether it's the stories of kings and queens, but also the stories of poverty and some of the pandemics maybe that we faced. So one thing that I super love about 2020, and I want to gauge if you guys feel the same, is this renaissance. I'm seeing more and more examples and affirmations of these stories that I always knew were right.
Yeah, because I feel like they were always already there, but we are now being seen and heard because there's so many people, including myself, that have been doing this for years. But now people are coming and be like, hey, can we do this together? Hey, can you write for my platform? I'm like, but we've been doing this. So for you being a Black publisher, which I find so interesting because I've never met a Black publisher before.
Neither have I.
Neither have I. So next three of us.
What are you seeing in this industry of books? Because there are two girls that I follow who live in the UK, and their book is called Slay in Your Own Lanes. And
Nice.
one of them shared that how difficult it was for them to actually publish this book as two Black writers. So is this something, because with Mendo Books is more, you guys are, it's also about design, and you are very specialized in coffee book tables. But how are you guys, or not even Mendo Books itself, but you being the co-founder of Mendo Books, how do you make sure that, two things. What are you seeing in the book industry when it comes to Black writers? And how are you trying to make a change with Mendo Books?
Those are two very, very good questions. And I'll try to keep them brief. So the current status, or the status of publishing in general, when it pertains to Black people or marginalized people, even women, LGBTQ, etc. It's an old boys network. So one thing that we can bring in some socialness back up until like the 80s, when the technology boom started and the internet boom started. For thousands of years, books were the medium. Is that?
Education.
Yeah.
Of administration.
Everything. And it was the medium that was used to build the empires that ruled this world, whether it be the Romans, whether it be after a while the Dutch or the Portuguese, etc. I also explained to you that our African history was often orally shared and gave over. All of this, I feel, led to the 20th century, in which we had almost no people of color, at least in top levels or ownership levels of publishing and bookmaking. So then what happens, the internet comes, and books have been losing. Print has been losing, obviously, to the internet, and that became less interesting, I think, to enter this market of books.
And that's what I love about Amsterdam, just this group of guys. Sadly enough,
women,
I don't
and women.
Yeah, and women, but I feel like you guys are more together. The women are here, but we're not a collective.
No.
I don't, at least I'm not in one. I don't know what.
That also had to grow on us.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, when opportunities are scarce, competition goes up.
True.
And we were young and eager to go. Everybody was in like in explosive
definitely
start mode.
not.
Go, get it. There's food at that table, there's food at that table. Let's go. And I think that competition kind of made sure that everything was weed out. In Dutch you would say het scheidt het kaf van het koren. And then there's daily paper, there's filling pieces, then there's all of a
And
then you look at these guys, and then you're like, they look like me, and I'm in my own field of competition, but I'm gonna make it work.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and make it work in any way I can.
Because it's possible.
Because it's
possible.
They've shown, they've proven it, it's possible.
Yeah.
Safi, you have worked on a project, Omroep Zwart,
Yes.
which I was part of, I could say, because they created a campaign where they invited different people, a lot of people, and they photographed us. And can you tell me a little bit more about that, about Omroep Zwart?
What I can do.
Yeah, and what you did for Omroep
I'm not
Zwart.
one of the founders.
No,
I just sympathize with what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want their story,
No,
so
but
this
obviously,
is my perspective.
yeah, because you created the
Yes.
commercials.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
Yeah, so you have that information and
Yes,
you translated
yes.
it.
And I'm very much a part of what they're doing. But this is my perspective on
Omroep
Zwart.
Zwart, tell me.
And for me, it is about getting hold of your narrative.
Yeah.
For example, Johan Derksen on Veronica Live.
I don't have TV, bro.
Yeah, neither do I.
Johan Derksen, yeah, Veronica,
I'm just kidding. Football Insider.
Whatever it was.
Or whatever.
But he said that a rapper to me is somebody that completely failed in music but is still trying. Now this is one of the reasons why Omroep Zwart should be there. Because now he's forming the narrative of a lot of people that want to do something in music.
Yes.
Which are mainly black people, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And this goes so deep, I don't want to interject, but you know where my new store is at? It's situated in one of the most prestigious hotels here in Amsterdam, called Hotel de l'Europe. And I remember around the opening, you know, we had a lot of guests from the hotel, including the most well-known Dutch architect, old guy, 80. And I remember him approaching me at, you know, the opening, super excited, obviously, and I was just dressed like I'm dressed like this. He came up to me, he was like, "Oh man, you must be one of those rappers, right?"
Oh no.
And just to explain to this older gentleman that, nah, I'm not one of those rappers. First and foremost, I don't feel, how do you call it?
Zeg maar Nederlands, you can say
I don't feel disrespected by you calling me that, because rappers are poets, and people like Jay-Z are like and Vin, who's also going to be on this podcast.
Oh, good. Yeah, so you switched it.
Yeah, man, those are people I look up to.
Yeah.
But having said that, and just that adding to you, also with Omroep Zwart and why we need affirmations, this man has never seen anything else than young black men in entertainment or sports. So I couldn't even blame his 85-year-old ass.
And this is why Omroep Zwart
needs to exist. It is taking hold of a narrative that has been captured by different media.
Yeah.
Because now we get to define what a rapper is, and it's a poet. Indeed. They are the contemporary poets.
Yeah.
Because there's no poet more successful, and poets don't capture hearts more than rappers in these days.
Yeah.
So for me, that's one of the reasons why Omroep Zwart exists. And then there's the other thing, there's the name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
which I read a few comments and I thought this is so interesting that the word black, because Omroep Zwart is literally Omroep, I don't know how to say that in English, but
how? It's a broadcaster or network.
A network broadcast black.
Yeah.
And the word black created so many things. Like I read the comments, I was even in the comments because I'm just like but you know, not fighting, but just more like I just find it so interesting that only that word black can stir up so many things, which already means that what the word black does when people see us or hear it. Yeah.
It's a mirror. So the word black is a mirror to your own prejudice.
Yeah.
So if you see a problem in a word which doesn't even refer to a person, then that means that word is a mirror to your own prejudice.
Yeah.
And what the word and the name of the network does is that it's a big, fat mirror to people. And I think it's very, very, very important to understand that the people that have the prejudice about the name need help.
Yeah.
And they need us to help them understand that the word black is not something that's offensive. It's not something that's hostile. It's actually something that you can accept and you can play with and that you can laugh about.
Yeah.
So for me, I have 2 projects that I am emotionally invested in.
Mm-hmm.
Just dig it,
Mm-hmm.
Omroep Zwart. And that's kind of what makes me as a person. And it's called an intersectional environmentalist. And that means you can't have climate justice without equality.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's my basically my 2 cents on Omroep Zwart and why I think it's important.
Yeah.
And well, the guys, Gianni Groot and Aklasi, can tell you what their intrinsic reason is.
Definitely.
But
I love
Nice.
that. Wow, so nice. And actually, my last question for you guys is, because I'm first of all, I don't think I've said it a few times, but I'm so happy to have you guys here.
Likewise.
Like, I don't even think you guys understand how important, I think you guys know, but it's so important. The role that the 2 of you have is so important. Like, we are changing the traditional stories, you know, we're keeping our own narratives. And before we started filming, we've been talking about it, that in a few years' time, hopefully we can help the next generation. You know, like, I always hear Oprah Winfrey, but it's also Ashlee Janelle. Like, we need to create new,
I feel you.
You know, new names, new faces, and give help other people with the platform that we have built. So my last question basically for you 2 is, what impact, because the theme of this season is also impact over popularity. What impact do you want to leave behind with your work?
Big man first?
Oh, no.
Because he started in the beginning, so
Okay. That's only fair. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best to, first and foremost, thank you also for having us. The energy you feel, I think we feel as well. And I cannot
like a big smile
believe that we're...
this is a good couch to sit on.
I know, right?
Good couch, good people.
No, I can't believe we're at the last question, but very, very important question. So when I think about this impact versus popularity, when I think of what maybe my legacy will be, or you know, what I can bring into the next generation, and this is really something that keeps me up at night. Can you imagine getting a baby and then 2020 happening? That's what I really love, the story of your dad taking care of just girls in this country while everything is happening. Okay, the first thing I want to do is very simple. It's short term. I want to demystify whatever it is I do. Every time that I meet one of our own, and when I say our own, here in the Netherlands, I qualify that as allochtoons and everybody that has a kind heart for foreigners, basically. And I see the awe, or I see the, you know, the respect, or for the fact that I'm a publisher, I'm doing this thing in books. I want to demystify that, because I actually work my ass off for something completely different. But this is not hard to do, and this is not a hard position to get, you know. So when we talk about impact against popularity, I want to keep the same level of popularity, or even make it bigger, but also make, in order to reach as many people as possible, but we have to demystify what it is, the making of books, first and foremost. Then secondly, and that's a little bit of a larger thing, when I look at my son and I look even at the people around us here, you know, I see that there's an increased need for tangibility and curatorship, right? So just to touch on both real quick, curatorship, you know, nowadays we receive so much information. I know Safi could definitely touch on this. I believe like we get more information in a day than our parents used to get, like in I don't know, in a month or
you know that our brains are actually becoming efficient at ignoring information now.
Wow.
Because it's so much.
Which I can imagine. I feel like I do that already. It's true.
It's crazy. So we're actually getting dumber because we don't have to put in all the information in our heads anymore. Our brains now think, hey, there's the screen has the information, I don't have to capture it, so I'm just going to be selective about stuff.
But I've even noticed I don't like reading anymore, which is such a problem. Like I'm like,
it's a super big problem. That's actually at the core of my impact and why I will continue to do this.
Yeah.
Even though
which is really good.
Reading is the training of your cognitive. So everybody understands that you have to go to the gym or you have to exert your muscles, break them, and then a healing process occurs and it restores stronger.
Yeah.
The same goes with your brain. You need to challenge your brain and keep it up to speed.
Okay, so Safi, and impact of popularity, how are you making an impact?
For me, it's relatively simple. It's, as I said before, is that if you keep building this database of people to look to, you'll be able to leave an impact for the next generations to come. So what I'm doing is just, I understand my position is that I have to keep storing things for other people to look at. And the subject of the things that I store are either about environment or it's about equality. And that's my legacy. It's just being able to work on that database. And I don't have to be popular in it. I don't have to be significant because it's a collective build. So I am just one cornerstone and there's so many other stones that actually build that database. So for me, it's just about adding and showing work and having other people being able to say, hey, Dad, I want to be a filmmaker. And then he says, oh, I know a successful one. You could be like him. That's it.
Okay. Then one more to add to that, and then we're wrapping up, is are you a mentor? When we go back to the first question that you had, are you a mentor to other young Black filmmakers? Or
I wouldn't say I'm a mentor, but a lot of Black filmmakers that are younger than me, some of them are older than me, look at me as an example.
Nice.
And I am very proud to say that these people want to see me win. But I'm trying to let them win because I'm just the cornerstone. And so are they. But cornerstones build homes. So for me, I'm not sure if I'm a mentor to people. I am an example, and I'm trying to teach them to become the same cornerstone that I'm trying to be.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I am really, really happy that you guys came. We can go on and on and on and on and on. But yeah, I really enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoyed too.
Man. This was good. This was good. Yes.
Thank
This was really one of the best I had.
What?
And I'm not the person to say that shit.
Yes.
No, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, but this is what happens when you put two Black males next to each other that look up to each other. And I almost have a feeling we haven't even touched on the nitty gritty and the actual content because I'm still in respect mode. So.
But there's definitely gonna be a follow up. We have to. So thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I did, and this was a lot of gems, a lot of information. So yes, thank you guys, and you'll definitely see us together again.